All right. Hello and welcome to a very special and impromptu episode of the Mike Sennello Show. I don't know if I should be calling this an episode of the Mike Sennello Show, but that's what we're going to do. So everyone knows, no, I normally have notes on one of these screens, and right now I don't have any notes. So we're going to be doing this completely on the fly, and it's going to be done largely ad hoc. So for those of you who are watching, so you know, just to get some business out of the way. Number one, if you're seeing this, please share it, especially in the banned public benefits group. Tonight, what we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to be going over a bit of a how-to in terms of writing to your state representatives, in this case, the representatives and senators and state senators in Connecticut. And not only that, we're going to be going over how to do that in regards to a particular bill, in this case, Senate Bill 647, which recently which aside from being brought to committee, is now actually passed to the point of having a public hearing. This is a baby step, but it's the next step. And the next step for us, since what we're here to do isn't to just bitch about our electric bills, it's to get things done. The most important thing to have gotten done happened in November, and that was the election, and we lost. We took it on the chin. Those of you who are in favor of the free market principles that get us to actually resolving this problem long term and getting to electric bills we can actually afford and getting to legislative statutory conditions that are actually in keeping with principles with which we agree, we lost. We lost that in election. However, again, that doesn't mean you roll over and die. The next step here is what we're doing right now, and those are baby steps. So tonight we're going to be going over how to write to the committee in this case and who to write to. So the first thing that we're going to go over is the actual proposed legislation, because one of the things that we're going to go over tonight is, in terms of the style guide, in terms of like the how-to, is it's useless to write to your senator or to your representative, state senator or state representative, if you don't have hyper-specific information to elucidate. So there is going to be more to come. This is just the first step, but we have to do this now. And I'll go over next steps later on in the episode tonight. So first things first, this is Senate Bill 647. And we're going to zoom in so you can read this. First things first, you can see that it's got kind of a lot of support and weight behind it, if you will. These are all of the state senators and representatives that have that are part of the introduction of the bill. So this actually goes, let me make this just a little bit bigger for everybody so you can see it just a little bit easier. I want this one, and I want it to be just a little bit bigger. Excuse me. There, we'll make it just a little bit bigger so you guys can see it just a little bit easier. But this is the bill, proposed bill 647 in the General Assembly. Links to everything I'm going to show you tonight are in this video's description, both on YouTube and Facebook. And in addition, if you're watching on Facebook and would prefer to watch on YouTube, link is in this video's description to watch on YouTube. If you're on YouTube and you prefer to watch on Facebook, again, link is in this video's description. You can swap back and forth between whichever you prefer. So this is Senate Bill 647. We've talked about all of the things that would help mitigate against the current crisis. I'm going to call it a crisis when it comes to electric bills in this state. And here is the bill. It isn't very long in terms of the length of its text. Let's see if we can get this better centered for everybody. No, we can't. No, we can't get rid of this page viewer. All right, that's a bummer. Okay. Being enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives and General Assembly convened that the general statutes be amended to 1. Remove charges collectively called the combined public benefits charge from electric bills for end-use customers of each electric distribution company. Share. Anyone at home watching this video, you need to share this. If you care about your electric bills, share this video. Because we're going to go over over actual action, over actual fixes here. And this is the first step. You want the public benefits banned. You want the public benefits off of your bills. This is it. This is the one. This is the only bill that has been approved in this regard for a public hearing. And we're going to go over a lot of the other bills very, very, very briefly in a minute once we go through this one. But this is the one. This is the one, folks. Link is in this video's description. Get that link and share it too. Again, we're going to be doing the writing here tonight. This is the video to share. Share it. Share it. Even if it's in posterity, if you're not seeing this live, still share it, because we're going to do the how-to. We're explaining the why, we're giving you background, and then we're going to do the actual how-to. There. Sorry, folks. I had a filter on for the intro. This should improve things quite a bit. All right. This is the one. 2, prohibit the Commissioner of Energy and Environmental Protection. So this is the Commissioner of DEEP, or any electric distribution company or EDCs would be Eversource or UI, from entering into a power purchase agreement that provides for the purchase of electricity at a rate exceeding 150% above the wholesale price of electricity. Okay, you guys are going to want plain English on this one. I'll explain it in plain English. 38% of your bill, 38% of the electricity that EDCs have to buy has to come from what are considered renewable sources, the overwhelming bulk of which has to be Class 1. Class 1 is, for all intents and purposes, nothing but wind and solar. This electricity is purchased on open markets at 40 cents a kilowatt hour, or megawatt. $40 per megawatt, right? The current rate that we already have an agreement with Millstone is $5 per kilowatt. And the reason that we're eating some of that is because the going rate for natural gas right now is between $3 and $4 per kilowatt hour. So because of these mandates that the EDCs have, 38% of your bill is 10 times what it should be. 10 times that. And what this is effectively going to be is a de facto, which means it isn't in law what it would do, but it is the effect of the thing, is to basically repeal that entire mandate. It's going to make it so that those RECs that you're buying at 10 times the market rate, you won't be able to buy them, which means that the entire RPS standard is basically going to get nuked as a result of this, at least in terms of its effectuation. 3, redefine quote-unquote Class 1 renewable energy source to include any electricity generated from a hydropower or nuclear power generating facility. Again, in plain English, right now there are certain hydropower facilities that are excluded from Class 1 renewables. And when it comes to nuclear, nuclear isn't even classified as a Class 2 or 3 renewable. It's not in the renewable portfolio standard at all, despite the fact it is, again, as we've already said, the agreement we have right now is 8 times cheaper, 1/8 the price of solar and wind. And they're being forced right now to buy solar and wind because of the standard of the RPS standard, the renewable portfolio standard that is now mandating RECs, renewable energy credits. So what that would do is bring that down tremendously. Now, this isn't going to affect public benefits that much, right? This is primarily on the supply side. And for the record, we've already been through this in the state, but we're the most expensive state when it comes to electric rates in the lower 48 except California, and that includes the rest of New England. We've done this before. If you guys need me to provide the receipts again for the 13th time, I'll do it. Put it in the comments. Tell me what you want to hear. I'll do it. I'll happily do that. We can easily look this stuff up. Connecticut's rates right now are over 33%, are roughly a third higher than our fellow New England state, New Hampshire. It's almost a third higher than Maine, another fellow New England state. So again, you're going to get gaslit. Norm Needleman did this morning. You're going to get gaslit by the proverbial other side, who's going to tell you that the reason our rates are as high as they are is because we're in New England. That's bullcrap. That's bullcrap. Maine and New Hampshire, which are super rural states with way colder temperatures and fewer hours of daylight because of their latitude, are able to have electric rates lower than Connecticut. And it's not natural gas heat that's doing it, because that was factored into the study that was done by LendingTree, that even the Hartford Current had the gall to reference and to cover. So no, there's no reason for Connecticut to have rates as high as they are. They should be at least 25% lower than what they are right now. At least, to fall into line with at least the New England standard. 4, separate Public Utilities Regulatory Authority from the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. So separating Pura from DEEP. Okay, DEEP, its mission is to pursue things like green energy. That's its explicit mission. That's the thing it's serving the end toward. Pura's end is toward cheaper electricity for the ratepayers. These are necessarily conflicting ends. As a result, there is necessarily a conflict of interest between these two bodies. And yet, Pura is statutorily is required to answer directly to DEEP and somehow absorb the way more expensive green energy mission into its mission of less expensive energy. Do we understand this conflict of interest? On one hand, we have a mission of explicitly cheaper energy, and on the other hand, we have a mission of explicitly more expensive energy. Explicitly cheaper, explicitly more expensive. They can't be melded together. They're necessarily conflicting missions. This is more of a long-term fix, as in this is going to fix more long-term issues, and especially issues that could be arising down the road, as Pura starts to establish certain practices that are more in line with green energy, right? So this is that long-term solution. 5, eliminate any incentive program that increases electrical demand. So this would be those incentive programs for solar where it's not actually at net creating electricity relative to how much it requires to create that electricity start to finish. This would be things like, in almost every case, heat pumps, in the end, wind up consuming more electrical value than they supplant with the way that they create heat. And battery storage. Battery storage in general winds up because of how it has nothing to do with physics and everything to do with engineering. Because of the way battery storage works, especially during the wintertime, it's monetarily less efficient than direct provision of electricity. So, from a generating source, including but not limited to any electric vehicle rebate program. So all of those freebies the state was giving out, right, that are built into your public benefits charges for, EV charging units, EV charging stations, and all of this stuff, and rebates that are actually going to dealerships that aren't on the public benefits charges, but are part of the broader spectrum of things, handouts that the state has for EV programs. And 6, study methods by which the supply of natural gas, which is right now way cheaper, way cheaper than even nuclear. Right now, in the long run, it won't be. In the long run, it'll be more expensive than the most advanced versions of nuclear. But right now, it's way cheaper than every other form of electrical generation in the state, by which natural gas supply in the state can be increased. Right now, that can't be done. Right now, in order for that to actually, so we're just talking about a study, so that's baby steps. But in the end, if the study is honest, what the study is going to reveal is that in order to achieve that end, we have to repeal 22A-200A, which we've been over on the show a million times. Again, there is probably no better informed, unelected human being than me when it comes to the regulatory environment and the economics behind it in the state. So if you want to stay up to date, this is the channel to do it. This is the channel to do it. If you want informed economics on this, and you want to see the damned receipts, this is the channel that is going to carry them. This and no other channel. No one's going to go into the depth that we've gone into on this channel. We've gone into enormous depths when it comes to 22A-200A. And as a result, yes, I want to expand this to in-person events. We're going to get into the writing of letters. We're going to get to that. But yes, we should be expanding these letter writing events and all of our events and our public speaking opportunities at public hearings and our engagements broadly. This is not the time for a protest. Protests are in rallies. Those are going to blow up in our face, and the Democrats are going to use it as leverage to not pass the bills that we want. They're going to gaslight those protests just like they have every time that we've tried to do that in this state. They're going to gaslight them. And all it's going to do is have a whole bunch of people cash in a ton of chips, a ton of political will for nothing. It's going to be backfiring. So we're nowhere near that point. So get that out of your head. And as far as these 6 points are considered, we're going to zoom out so we can get the whole thing all at once. In 647, These are the things that are going to lower your electric bills. Now, there are other bills being proposed. In my opinion, there's one that's actually even better than this, but has no hope of passing. This one has a hope. This is where we have a hope. So this is the thing we need to do. I spoke with Billy Mo Buckby, who's on the Energy and Technologies Committee. He was the ranking member for 4 consecutive years on that committee. We've talked about on this show, and again, if you want to, I can bring receipts. Let me see if I got anything in the chat. Okay, so again, put your commentary in the chat. Go ahead. Run your mouse. That is good. That is good for you to tell me what you think. We've been through this. The place where all of this is going to take place, the whole battleground is in committee. We talked about with Senator Harding 2 years ago how these bills live and die in committee. If they make it out of committee, they pass. If they make it out of committee, they pass the legislature. We've been through this. Senator Harding, who is now the Senate minority leader, was on my show 2 years ago, and we talked about this, and we put out clips for you guys to see. This is what we have to do. I talked to Billy Mo Buckby, who called me on Thursday, like 10 minutes after this thing went to public hearing, sick as a dog, to say, Mike, we need your letters. We need you to go. We need you to launch the show this weekend. We need you to get on the trail. We need letters. And the place to send them is the committee. It's the Energy and Technologies Committee. I'll get you links to all that if we need to. Right? We've been over this, though. Those are the people we're going to be writing to. In fact, I should probably just quickly... Connecticut Energy and Technology Committee. Here we go. Let's pull this up. Let's do this on the fly. I'll have to edit this down to a little bit more concise and digestible. Let's see if we can get the committee membership. Here we go. Yes. All right. Okay. So here is the committee membership. Billy Mo Buckby, who is where is he? There he is. Right? There's Billy Buckby. This is the membership. I'll be happy to put a link in this video in the chat if you guys tell me. Happy to do it. These are the people we need to write. Buckby told me over the phone, Mike, I need you to go out and I need to get letters for the entire committee. We had an event last weekend, during the beginning of last week. And it was to write letters. It was to write letters to the 2 co-chairs. The 2 co-chairs are Jonathan Steinberg and Norm Needleman. There, you can see them right there. Right? You can see them a little bit better. There's Norm Needleman. There's Steinberg. Needleman's been on this committee for a long time. John Steinberg just got on the committee. But they're the 2 co-chairs. And they're the opposition. And that's who we would normally need to be writing. But now, from what I understand, now that it's going to a public hearing, what the committee needs to hear is letters to the entire committee. So if you're going to write a letter, it kind of doesn't matter who you're sending it to. Right? Send it to anyone on the committee. Especially the junior members. The junior members don't get nearly as much letter as the co-chairs and the ranking members. So we need to be writing this entire committee. And it's going to be in favor of House Bill 647. And the reason we need to do this is because this is the bill. This is the bill. Now, I've put this out a million times, but I took the time to put together a scorecard for every single bill before the Energies and Technologies Committee. And you can see on the left-hand side here, every single one of these bills is linked. I've color-coded this and sorted this by the ones that most need our support and opposition. If it's red, it means it needs our opposition. If it's green, that means it needs our support. If it's super dark green, it means it really needs our support. If it's super dark red, it means it really needs our opposition. And as it gets lighter in this column, see, opposed, support score, and I put comments in here so you guys can better understand what these things mean. Share. The link to this is in this video's description. Share, share, share. I told you, you're not going to get a better resource for being informed on this matter and for getting these policies actually through the legislature that actually help us than this channel. This is where you're going to see this sort of thing. And Senate Bill 647 is right here, right towards the top. It's a bill that is a really, really, really good bill. It's one of the 5 or 6 best bills before the Energy and Technology Committee. And it has a 6 out of 10 likelihood of passing, which means it needs our support and it needs our attention. It's also the bill that has a ton of senators, as you can see, and representatives behind the bill. This is the one that has the political weight behind it. This is the one that has the inertia and the muscle. This is the bill that is going to a public hearing and needs our support. This one. And that's why the likelihood of passing here is a 6, and its actual rating is a 9, because it does a lot of things. I'll just briefly scroll down here. There are some bills that are really, really, really bad and are going to need our opposition eventually. But these bills, in these two particular cases, aren't as likely to pass as certain other bills that are still pretty bad, like these 4 and Senate Bill 317. There is one bill that I think is amazing. It's House Bill 6295, but it's so based, unfortunately, it's probably not going to pass. In fact, it's super unlikely to pass, and I'm probably overweighting it at 3 out of 10 in terms of its likelihood to pass, which is why I'm not giving it too much deference. I'm not paying that much attention to it. It's the lowest bill that I've got highlighted for any sort of attention, and the bill is a total repeal of the renewable portfolio standard, which would cut your bills in half. Like, no joke, this is going to cut your bills in half, and get rid of a sizable chunk of those public benefits. But unfortunately, this renewable portfolio standard is something that the Dems are super duper duper behind, and they're in the territory of die on this hill when it comes to the RPS. Even though you have to be wildly economically illiterate to be in favor of the RPS, because it's effectively costing you 100% of your bill. It's effectively doubling the cost of your bill. So this is the resource. This is the resource for going through these bills. And as you can see, I've got this highlighted in bold. This was something I put this together about a week and a half ago. This was before this bill made it, before it was awarded a public hearing. This is the bill, does basically everything GOP laid out that will actually lower rates and get rid of the public benefits charges. I'm sharing this video to the ban public benefits group. And I'm showing you right there. That's the bill. That's the bill. That's what we want. Share this video, guys. Share this around. This is what's going to get things to actually change. This is what's going to actually get things to change. And again, the first step is what I've been doing. I've been putting together things like a Discord server, which we're going to get into in just a second, so that we can organize action. I'm trying to do that right now tonight. If you're watching this after we've gone live, if you're watching this in posterity, still participate. You can still participate. You can still join us, because we're going to just go through the how-to here. We're at the point where we have the bill we want to support. We have it, okay? And now that we have it, that bill, it's time to act on it. And this is what we got to be doing. For the record, yes, I'm going to be organizing more of these events, virtually and in person. Let me know in the comment section where you live. Just a town, not any address. If you live, in Groton, let me know you live in Groton. If you live in Colchester, let me know you live in Colchester. If you live in Canton, let me know you live in Canton. If you live in the Naugatuck River Valley, let me know you live in the Valley. If you live in New Britain, God forbid, tell me you live in New Britain. I will happily organize in-person events to go over, the history of all of this, which we've done on this channel 100 times, to go over what needs to be done and how to actually do it, and then we'll actually sit down in the room and do it. In fact, what I'm going to say right now is I absolutely am going to rent out space, which doesn't cost anything. I'm absolutely going to do one of these events at New Milford Public Library. Look it up, New Milford Public Library. Mark it in your GPS, because this is definitely happening. I'm definitely going to be doing that probably later this week. I may even do it on Saturday in the lead up to the Super Bowl. We may even have something of a Super Bowl event on Sunday afternoon or something, since the Super Bowl is super late at night. By the way, you guys all live in Connecticut, right? So this game is between the Eagles and the Chiefs. Honestly, I have no idea why you would want to support that. The Bills had a shot, but the Patriots stunk, the Jets stunk, the Giants stunk, and it's between the bloody Eagles and Chiefs. So don't know why anyone in 2025 who supports anything that we're going to be doing is going to be watching the Super Bowl this year. I'm not, but maybe we do that on Super Bowl Sunday. Let me know your thoughts, please. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. This is the place to do that, because we're going to be organizing that action tonight. The action that we're organizing is letter writing. So I put together this style guide, general advice, and sample letter by popular request. I've gone through all of this effort. This is what I've done so far. I'm actually doing the thing. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I'm trying to tell people that if you want to see things change, don't just share your electric bill. Share your letter to your senator. Share your letter to your representative. At the very least, share this video. Share that style guide that you're seeing on your screen. Share my scorecard that you're seeing on the screen now that you saw before. Share this stuff. I'm going to blow through this advice as fast as I can because this is a 4-page read. Now, I've intentionally put it in kind of large font, so it shouldn't take us that long. But but before we get started, if you've never done this before, I'm just going to blow through this as quickly as I can. Let me know in the comment section if you need me to slow down. Let me know in the comment section if you need me to go back over anything. Okay, so first things first, know your audience. You are generally speaking, when you write these types of letters, you want to be writing to the opposition. Let me bring that up. You generally speaking want to be writing to the opposition. You're using this opportunity as a moment to convince somebody of a position. If somebody is already on your side, you're kind of wasting your breath convincing them to continue to be on your side. In this case, that means that means the target should be Democrats. Now, tonight, we're writing to the entire committee. Now, I'm offering preference toward Democrats here because they're the ones that need it more. So if time is short and time is limited, in this case, we're talking about Democrats. That's who you want to write to. Write to the committee members. Remember, everything lives and dies in committee. Everything is dependent on committee. So write to the committee members. Virtually everything that matters during the legislative process happens in committee. In this case, the bills that matter are all going to the Energy and Technology Committee. Their membership can be found here. This is the link to the membership that I just showed you. This is the link to this. And we're going to go over what the address is that we're going to send this to. Write to the co-chairs. So we talked about this, that when we don't have direct and specific information to who to write to, the people to be writing to are the two co-chairs. The exact address is as follows. This is really important. We're going to zoom in as far as we possibly can on this. And I'll allow people to freeze frame on this. So you're going to write, in the case of Representative Buckby's a friend of mine, Representative Billy Buckby, full name, Connecticut State Legislative Office Building, 300 Capitol Avenue, Hartford, Connecticut, 06106. And I'm going to leave that up there for just a minute. The reason we're writing letters, right, we're actually writing physical pen and paper, is because emails don't land the way a physical pen and paper actually land. It is really easy to do a copy and paste email blast. And as a result, these people get their emails fill up like that. Their email accounts fill up instantly. And so for a lot of these senators, senators or representatives are just going to completely ignore it. But when it comes to handwritten mail, when it comes to, even if you're not handwriting, if you're typed actual physical paper, it is really hard for you to ignore a stack of paper on your desk, because you're going to sit down on the desk and say, whoa, that many people went through that much effort to reach out to me. They must really care about it. And it can't be bots. It can't be bots, because right now, bots aren't pumping out this sort of pen and paper to these representatives and senators. So that's the address we need to be writing to. All right, let's zoom out just a little bit so we can out. I said out a little bit. All right, here's an important lesson. Nobody is more skeptical of government than me. Nobody is more skeptical of our senators and representatives of either party than me. When it comes to certain members of our elected Democrat members of this committee and of the legislature in general, some of them are a-holes. Some of them do not deserve any deference to decency when we're not trying to serve a utilitarian end. The point is, though, we're trying to get the legislation passed. We're trying to actually convince them of something that they probably don't necessarily agree with. We're trying to get them on board with Senate Bill 647. They are not going to be on board with it if you tell them to go F themselves to their face. They're going to ignore everything you say after that, and then you've poisoned the bill. You've poisoned it. Now when somebody else brings up Senate Bill 647, what they're going to have in their mind is F you to your face, right? And that's what they're going to link to it. So this is I've put this in red ink because it's incredibly important. I know it's tempting to be a dick to people who are dicks, but you can't do it. We are here to achieve a goal. And just like it says here, sarcasm, name-calling, belittlement, etc. don't help achieve the goal. Even if the recipient is an actual horse's ass, treat him like he's your neighbor and on your side. Even if the legislation you're opposing is stupid, idiotic, choose your insult. Treat it with a neutral tone and explain why it's bad, irrespective of any political aim. As in, basically just say what it does. Just say what it does and say what it will do. And if that thing that it does is bad, then you've made your point. Don't let them know your party. This isn't us trying to be deceptive. This isn't us trying to be shady or trying to hide our party or whatever it might be. I'm not a Republican. I have a political party. I'm not unaffiliated, but I'm not a Republican. They shouldn't know me. They shouldn't know my party affiliation. They shouldn't think, oh, well, he's just a Republican. You don't want them thinking about your party. You want them to be thinking about the ideas. You want them to be thinking about Senate Bill 647. A well-written letter will make the point without letting the recipient know what party to which you are a member, even if it's none. You want the recipient to, at worst, be critically thinking of your idea and not your party, which also means limit your adjectives. This is something I've had to go over with some people that I've worked with. I used to work with some folks in New Hampshire who ran the fourth largest online let's say news organization, let's call it that, in all of New Hampshire. And this is a serious problem that the writers had, right? You shouldn't be calling a bill this ridiculous, authoritarian, tyrannical. No, don't do any of that. Just say what the bill does. Just say what it does. Just get the who, what, when, where, why. We don't need adjectives. And I'm not saying adjectives in the pejorative sense. I'm not using the word adjective as a euphemism. I mean, try to just limit the adjectives. Just say what the bill does. This bill will raise electric prices because this bill will get rid of the public benefits charges and bring them before the legislature to be decided on individually, which is where they belong and how they should be decided upon. Notice how everything I just said right there included no adjectives, no descriptors. And notice how everything what I just said is presented in a neutral tone. It's not without any sort of, it's not that it's politically unbiased and comes with no political neutrality and comes with political neutrality. It's that it's just explaining what it does. In the end, this is basically just show me, not tell me, right? If a bill is bad, just explain why it's bad without saying that it's bad. As far as the letter itself, so now we have the general and broad advice out of the way, right? Again, this is the link to all this is in this video's description. Don't be afraid to share it. Please share it. Now that we've gone through the basics, we can go into the actual writing of the letter itself. Handwritten letters carry more weight. I know it's more work. But I'm telling you, when people see that you've taken the time to take out a pen and to take out a piece of paper, right, and actually physically write with your hand, you've put your hand to the pen to the paper, they will pay more deference to it. There is more weight that letter will carry. And there's also something intrinsically human that a handwritten letter has in it, baked into it, that no other form of communique other than in-person and video and telephone communications, no other form of communique that's written, that's strictly visual, carries with it. There is a human element to a handwritten letter. So I know, it's hard to write a handwritten letter, but at the very least, get one that's handwritten. And while we're on that type your letters before you write them. Doing cross-offs and whiteouts with your pen and with your whiteout ink or whatever you're going to be using, or making erasers with a pencil. Write it in pen, by the way, folks. Always in pen. Makes it just look sloppy and cheap. It makes you look like you're unserious. So type them out first, and then you'll know exactly what you want to say. Then you'll know exactly how many words you're using. you'll know that, listen, you've written 3 pages typed single-spaced, size 12 font, Times New Roman. That's way too much. They're never going to read that. So we got to bring that down to a page, right? And that's way easier to do in a typed format than in handwritten format. That, and it's going to naturally get you more practiced with this letter writing process and with writing that particular letter. So when it comes time to hand write the thing, you're not doing it off the top of your head. You have it right there. You have it typed up. I like to type it up and then print it out. The other thing that this is going to do is if your hand gets sore and you're just out of energy and out of time, you can write like 5 handwritten letters to the people you most want to convince and then just print out the rest. And when it comes to handwritten letter, spend a little extra money on stationery. So what we're going to do, I'm going to bring up, it's the side-by-side. Here we go. So I have some stationery here, right? These are some pens. These are gel ink pens. We want to go this way, right? Right. And they're not the cheapest pen. They're also not very expensive. They're about, 75 cents a piece, 75 cents to $1. So spend a little extra money on the pen, right? We have some paper here. This isn't just plain old-fashioned lined paper. This is, some manila colored almost. It's not perfectly white. It's a little bit manila-y, right? Lined paper that's, a little tiny bit extra weight to it and it's not just your standard like notebook paper that you would present to, that you would take notes in college, right? There's a little bit more to it than that, right? Then we have this one. We also have this type. These are all things I got at Staples. These are $8 or less at Staples, right? This type, what's nice about this one is that this one does make the better presentation, but it's kind of harder. It's kind of harder to get the pages ripped out because there's no perforations. So you kind of have to get like a pair of scissors or a perforator and make the perforations and cuts yourself. With this, what we can do. Wow, this actually has some real weight to it. That's kind of nice. That's what I'm talking about. We can fold it over. Boom. And we've got our perforation. And now we have a plain piece of paper loose. Write it. Do your writing on the piece of paper that's still attached so it doesn't move as much. And so you can be a little bit more neat with it. Right? And that's what I mean. This is not expensive stationery. This is just a little tiny bit better than the bare cheapest minimum. And then when you send it in an envelope, I have the number 10 envelopes. I'm in my office up there. I have number 9 envelopes. Those aren't going to catch anyone's attention. You want these envelopes. These are, you can see there are a variety of different colors, and they're not the standard 8.5 by 11 size. Let's see if you can see that. There you go. So you can see those dimensions there. And because of that, it's not going to stack nicely with standard conventional mail. It's going to stand out. It's going to physically stand out. And it's going to be something that people are going to see. The other thing is that with this coloring, what I can do, and this is kind of cheeky, is I can use those pink and blue ones and send them to Democrats and send the, yellow and orange ones, I suppose, and maybe the green ones to the Republicans. And there's almost like an affinity that Republicans might have to pink and blue, right? Or Democrats, might have to pink and blue. And that Republicans might have to gold, which is kind of like the Libertarian Party color, and orange, which is close to red. It's not quite pink. You know what I mean? There's something definitely different about orange and pink. Orange from pink. So that's what I mean. This is not super expensive stuff at all. This is just one step up from the bare minimum. Number your pages. Only write on one side. Don't clip and staple your pages. So this is just going to make it easier for them to read. So when it comes to your pages, because you don't, first things first, don't clip them together. Don't use a paper clip. Don't staple them. Because people are going to want to read them the way they want to read them. And most people don't want to have to flip a page over a staple. Most people don't want to have to deal with paper clips. And that's true of any recipient, and that's especially true in this case. We're trying to make it as ergonomic read as we can and as easy on the recipient as we can. And because we're not stapling or clipping them at the top of your page, you have to write page 1 of 4. Don't do that until you're done with your letter, but number your pages. The other thing is that it's really hard to tell just how well these pens are going to bleed through the paper. And it may be very, very, very little, but if you have writing on one side of the page, and then you have to flip it over to see the other side of the page, then it's entirely plausible that the other side, the first page that you write on, is going to be visible from the other side, and that's going to, again, make for a less ergonomic read and distract from the point that you're trying to make. You don't want them thinking about the actual pen and paper when it comes time to actually do the reading. You want them to get the content. You want it to be digestible. Speaking of which, when it comes to the content itself, this is the most important lesson when it comes to specifics of content. Be brief. As Shakespeare once said, brevity is the soul of wit. So, be brief. That means get to the point. When you're calling into the local radio station, don't wait for them to say, Bill from New Milford. Bill from New Milford. Hey, we got Bill from New Milford, line 1. No, you want to jump in immediately, and you want to get to your point. You want to say, how's it going, guys? It's going good, Bill. What do you have to say? Yeah, no, first-time caller, long-time listener. I really like your show. You still haven't gotten to the point. Get to the point, right? So, especially if we get this letter writing campaign to work out, and these senators and these representatives get, say, 100 letters apiece, we got to get through them. We got to get to the point. We got to get to the point. If you have a sob story to tell it in like 2 sentences, 1 or 2 sentences. Right now, we're trying to get them to focus on Senate Bill 647. So get to Senate Bill 647. Get to the meat. In short, what you should do, because I told you, type up your letters first. Size 12. Go to Microsoft Word. Just use Microsoft Word. In fact, if you don't have Microsoft Word, use Google Docs. It's basically the same formatting. Size 12, Times New Roman, 1-inch margins, single-spaced. 1 page. Let's do that one more time. Size 12, Times New Roman, standard 1-inch margins, single-spaced, 1 page. That's it. It's going to be 300 to 350 words. If you can do it in a lot less, great. Super. But do not go over 350 words. Do not go over 1 page. Now, I realize that what we're going to be doing is handwriting onto paper that is not 8.5 by 11. We're going to be handwriting in not size 12 Times New Roman. We're not going to be using 1-inch margins when it comes time to handwrite. I realize that. We're doing the typing first for the rigor. It allows us to know exactly how much everything's going to work out to. It allows us to use the built-in word counts and say, all right, we're at like 470 words. We got to bring this down. All right, we're at like 1.5 pages. We got to bring this down. And then whatever that works out to in the handwritten format, that's what it works out to. That's what you want. You want something in the area. Let me get this positioned a little bit better. There we go. You want something in the area of whatever that works out to. Which also means that formal headings are not necessary. I have a sample letter that we're going to go over in just a second. Just get right to the point. Dear Representative Billy Buckby, my name is Mike Sennello, and I'm a fellow New Milford resident. I am writing too. You don't need to have at the top of your screen. I know how a formal letter works. I run a business. When it comes to my business, I have formal headings for everything I do. This is not running a business. This is convincing a representative or a senator to get on board with Senate Bill 647. Just get to the dear line. Just get to the address line and get to the salutation when you're done. You also don't have to reveal, in doing so, all of your personal information as to where you live. You don't have to date your letters. You don't have to do any of that. The post office is going to date the envelope. That's good enough. It's going to date the stamp. That's good enough for them. They don't care about any of that. They just care about the meat. So just get to the meat. Formal headings are not necessary. Get to the point. Now we're going to get into much more specifics. Introduce yourself in 1 sentence. This should be 15 words or less. Done. My name is Mike Sennello, fellow Connecticut resident. What is that, like 8 words? They care that you are a constituent and fellow resident, and they might care about your name. Beyond that, they care about what you have to say, and that's it. The very next sentence should tell them in no uncertain terms why you are writing. Quote, I am writing today because ... The reason, so the ... the ellipses after that, should be 1 sentence of 15 additional words or less. That's it. A follow-up sentence is okay, but that should be basically it. This is not a master's thesis, and the representatives will respond better to letters written, from the heart rather than written over their heads. Again, we're going to be specific. We're not going to speak in broad terms because then that doesn't narrow down what we actually want them to do. We're not handcuffing them to a thing, right? If we say we want lower electric bills, well, what does that mean? That could mean, well, Eversource is no longer allowed to charge above a certain amount. Price controls cause shortages, and what does that leave us? In the end, with more expensive electricity and less of it. The worst thing you can do is create shortages. That's what price controls would do, by definition. In the same way that 2 + 2 = 4 and not 5, right? We don't need to count jelly beans to know that 2 + 2, 2 jelly beans and 2 more jelly beans makes 4 jelly beans. We don't need to do that. We can just know by virtue of the axiom of the number line that 2 + 2 = 4. 1 more than 2 is 3. 1 more than 3 is 4. 1 more than 1 is 2. Therefore, 2 + 2 = 4. We don't need anything more than that. Price controls cause shortages. So, again, we don't want to be ambiguous. Go name the bill you want to support. The very next paragraph should begin with the exact bill number you want to support. Again, I put into this link, here is a scorecard I've made of every single bill before the Energy and Technology Committee. Here's that scorecard again. This is what we've been going over. Here's that scorecard. So, here's a scorecard I've made of every single bill. That link is in this style guide. Listing on the I've made of every single bill before the Energy and Technology Committee with links to each bill's listing on the Connecticut General Assembly's website. This is how you write this. I am hoping you will support, and then you insert the bill number, Senate Bill 647, SB 647. This should immediately be followed by, in this order, 1, what the bill will do, 15 words or less. 2, why it's good or bad. We don't even have to say that it's good or bad, just why it's good or bad. This paragraph should be no more than 3 or 4 sentences long. If you are handwriting a letter, underline the bill number and the word support for clarity. It's really hard when you're handwriting a letter to make boldface or to make italicized writing. So just underline it. That's the easiest way to do it. 5, name the bill you want to oppose. So after we've laid out the bill that we want to support, name the bill we want to oppose. In this particular case, we can skip that. We're hyper-focused in on Senate Bill 647. If we're not hyper-focused in on Senate Bill 647, then just pick one of these bills that's super dark green, right, that you want to support. Or maybe even one of these bills that's a little bit lighter green. Or even one of these lighter green bills that you want to support. And then after that, pick one that you want to oppose. That's what these red bills are for. And by the way, these aren't just like labeled along partisan lines of like which one is a Republican bill and which one is a Democrat bill. One of the lowest rated bills I have right here is Senate Bill 317, which was proposed by Rob Sampson, who I love and is a Republican representative. But this is one of the worst bills that's before the ETC right now. Not likely to pass, but again, one of the worst bills we have. So this isn't partisan. This isn't just green is for Republican, red is for Democrat. It mostly is because of the nature of these two parties and what they want. But it's not like that. Put the support paragraph before the oppose paragraph. You want to butter them up. You want to be having them thinking in the positive. You're making the positive claim. This should be. We want this bill to pass. We want this bill before us. There is a psychology to reading a positive letter that makes people more welcoming to a negative letter. So get the positive first. Get their spirits up before we start talking about something negative that you would oppose. And then finally, be grateful in closing. Again, this goes under the don't be a dick heading. Thank the reader for taking the time to read your letter and sign off. And then that's it. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. Closing with an I look forward to, 15 words max, also extends the letter into the future action and is recommended, which means that you're not only just saying being grateful, you're also saying I look forward to, so that they're thinking of the next thing. Again, we're trying to get them to engage in some form of action. You don't want them to just read the letter. You want them to support the bill. In committee, you want them to vote in favor in the committee of the bill. Because remember, once it gets to the House floor, there's nothing that gets to the House and Senate floor that doesn't pass, for all intents and purposes. It is extraordinarily rare for a bill to get before the floor and not pass. Virtually all of them pass. Again, Senator Harding has been on the show to explain this in great detail. Now, we've seen how to go about this. So you're saying, Mike, oh yeah, right, like, well, that's vague information. What do you mean? Okay, so we have sample letters. There's a link to the sample letter. We could do this, right? And it's going to bring a PDF of a letter. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason that I'm only sharing this in PDF format. And that's so you can't just copy and paste it. You want these letters to be unique. This is what I've written in the description. I have uploaded 2 PDF versions of letters I've written, one to State Senator Norm Needleman and one to Representative Jonathan Steinberg. Do not try to copy and paste these letters. I'm simply trying to show how this works in action and by example. I have purposely uploaded these as PDF files so you can print them out if you'd like, but so you cannot simply copy and paste my words. This is not because I care about you using my words. Please use my words. I don't care about intellectual property when it comes to this. I don't care. Whatever it takes to get this through. Steal my works. Clip this video if you want. If you run your own podcast, clip any part of this video. I hereby public release every iota of every frame of this video into the public domain. Let me do that again for everybody. I hereby unconditionally release every frame of this video, connected or not, into the public domain. Do whatever you want with this video. This is not because I care about you using my words. It's because these letters need to be unique, or else they come off as part of an insincere and astroturf campaign, rather than as from you and from the heart. What that means is that you can write the same letter. You can write the same letter to all of the members of that committee, but it can't be the same letter that I write. Right? So there are however many members there are of the committee. It doesn't say, right? By looking at this, I'm going to guess about 25 to 30 or so members of this committee. If I write a letter, I can write the same exact letter verbatim to all of these people in this case. However, you can't be copying my work. You got to do your own work on this one, or it won't hit. It'll just look astroturfed. It'll just look insincere, like it's not from you or from the heart. So we're just going to go over the letter I wrote to Senator Norm Needleman. Okay, well, actually, we're going to do both. So let's go over the letter I wrote to Norm Needleman. Dear Senator Needleman, notice there's no formal heading at the top. My name is Michael Sennello, fellow Connecticut resident. That's it. That's my whole introduction. I am writing because of current electric rates in Connecticut. As I'm sure you've heard, recent reports have been released indicating that Connecticut has the highest average electric bills in America and the second highest electric rates in the lower 48, behind only California. We are also significantly higher in our rates than fellow New England states like New Hampshire and Maine. That's the whole thing. That's the whole background, the whole why I'm writing, the whole who I am. Now let's get into the meat. I am hoping you will support the passage of proposed House Bill 5402, as it will remove the public benefits charges from our electric bills and bring them to the floor of the legislature to be debated and reviewed individually and perhaps reduced. This would bring daylight to these charges and would allow for the charges to be handled in the legislature where they belong. Notice how I haven't said anything about it being good or bad. I haven't said anything about House Bill 5402 being good or bad. I said, I hope you'll support it, and here's what it's going to do. And here's why I want you to support it. I haven't called it good or bad. There's no adjectives in that sentence. I'm also hoping you will oppose the passage of House Bill 5948, which would either encourage or mandate the swapping out of electric water heaters for heat pump water heaters. Heat pumps require additional electricity to deliver their heat, and this will mean an upfront cost to replace water heaters that will either have to pay for directly or through the more subsidies via the public benefits charges or taxation. Additionally, how I choose to heat the hot water in my home should be nobody's business but my own. Again, no adjectives, no pejoratives. You could be a Democrat and make these arguments. You could. It's not likely in today's environment, but you could be a Democrat and make these arguments. I'm not revealing any party affiliation here. I'm not saying why it's bad. I'm not calling it stupid or idiotic or moronic or tyrannical or authoritarian or anything like that. I'm just saying what it does. And if you can't infer why that's bad, then I'm sorry, you shouldn't be in elected office. Thank you here's again, salutation. Thank you so much for your consideration, and I am looking forward to further hearings of the Energy and Technology Committee and the opportunity to offer public testimony. This means that I'm going to be speaking towards the bill. So that means that it gets in their mind the next thing, which is a public hearing, right? What's the next thing? What's the thing we want them to do? Bring this to a public hearing so I can actually speak toward that public hearing. Best regards, Michael Sennello. Again, we don't need formal salutations here. Just best regards. We're being positive. We're not trying to be a dick. My name. And Norm Needleman, Billy Mo Buckby, don't need to know any more. Billy Mo Buckby is my personal friend, so he knows more than my name. But when it comes to this, they don't need to know any more than your name and that you're a Connecticut resident. Now, the language of resident is something you could fiddle with. Fellow nutmegger, you could say fellow Connecticut constituent. There's more to the word constituent than resident. However, I think that there's a psychology to the word resident that I think will resonate better with Democrats than would resonate with Republicans. And I think the Republicans would prefer constituent. So keep that in mind. So you're seeing everything I just said in action. One page. The whole thing is one page. It's way less than 350 words. Okay, now let's go over to the one we wrote to Jonathan Steinberg, because this is really going to be relevant tonight. Okay. Oh, this is the other bill. All right, well, we don't have to go over that. But I've already done a bill. Let's see if I can dig it up. Yeah, hang on, guys. Let me pull this up, because I've already put this into Microsoft Word. I think I want this. Oh, I can't open it that way. Hang on. All right, so let me just do Google Docs. Okay, so this is, we got to do a little bit of formatting because I wrote this in Microsoft Word. And formatting isn't perfect for... Oh my. There. Let's leave it at that. All right. Okay, so that should work. Okay, so this is I wrote this in Microsoft Word. So it would actually take up less space if we converted this to, it's in Arial right now. So if we convert this to Times New Roman real quick, and let's make it size 12. That's pretty close to what it would look like in Microsoft Word. Pretty close. You'll see it's a full page, but it's only a page. I don't know if we can we do a word count? This is probably a little bit longer than I prefer. Tools, word count. 340 words. We're under our 350 word limit, right? So we're right where we want. This is as long as you want to be. You don't want to be any longer than this. Dear Representative Steinberg, my name is Michael Sennello, fellow Connecticut resident. I am writing because of the current electric rates in Connecticut. As I'm sure you've heard, recent reports have been released indicating Connecticut has the highest average electric bills in America and the second highest electric rates in the lower 48, behind only California. We are also significantly higher in our rates than fellow New England states like New Hampshire and Maine. I did slightly change this up from this letter right here. If you actually try to copy and paste this, it's not quite the same. I did change a few words in that introduction, but the whole point is this part isn't what matters. What matters is the meat. I am hoping you will support the passage of proposed bill, House Bill 5534. Now, if we go to our energy bills, we go to our scorecard here. All right, come here. 5534. This bill does everything. Okay, so this is the same bill. This is the exact same bill. Here we go. Senate version of House Bill 5534 is Senate Bill 647. So these are verbatim the same bill. So this is what we're looking for. Something along these lines. I'm hoping you will support proposed House Bill 5534. So I can just say Senate Bill 647, as it will enact several key statutory changes that will lower costs to consumers and cause existing regulation to better comport with the principles of liberty and mutual consent. In brief, the bill will pull the widely unpopular public benefits. The only adjective in here is unpopular. I'm not even saying it's good or bad. It's just really unpopular. Public benefits charges off of ratepayers' bills and force the items in those charges to be debated individually on the legislative floor where they belong and where the legislature will have the opportunity to potentially reduce or eliminate those items that ought to be. Limit deep purchases of energy to those which are significantly more in line with market rates. Redefine Class 1 renewable to include nuclear, the safest, cleanest, most reliable, and long-term cheapest source of energy, which will allow EDCs and retailers alike to make their mandatory RECs purchases, mandated at 38% of all purchases, via clean energy sources that are roughly 8 times cheaper than the current market rate for Class 1 renewables. Separate PURA from DEEP, which will dissolve the conflict of interest that PURA must serve in answering to a department whose mission by definition is in direct conflict with PURA's command to act on behalf of ratepayers for electrical rates. Repeals programs that artificially inflate demand and thus prices. Will study ways to naturally expand the supply of natural gas, whose recent innovations allow new plants to emit near zero CO2 at a cost orders of magnitude less than those allowed by the mandates of 22A-200A. Thank you so much for your consideration, and I am looking forward to further hearings of the Energy and Technology Committee and the opportunity to offer public testimony. Best regards, Michael Sennello. That's the letter, folks. That's the letter we're going to be doing. So that's what we need to be doing. That. Let me see if we have anything in the comments here. Hi, 56 plus 1. Looks like you just commented quite some time ago. 56 plus 1. If you're following along, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to steal, full on steal anything you see for your upcoming podcast. I'm going to be doing one too. And I'd love to work with you guys, 56 plus 1, to get the ball rolling. If you guys have any questions, again, I'd be happy to come onto your show if that's what you'd like. I have many ways of making that happen. So be happy to chat. Just let me know. You guys, I'm sure you can reach out to me via Facebook Messenger or via various other means. So thanks to everyone who's watching. We're going to move now into the actual writing of the letter. So what I'm going to do very briefly, since I have this open in Microsoft Word, I'm going to go ahead. This is the bill. This is what I wrote to Jonathan Steinberg. So I don't know that I really need to do Senate Bill 647. I don't know that I need to do anything differently, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna actually do it. I'm gonna show you the work. So people, if you want to talk, go ahead and talk. Let me know. I'm gonna open up Discord real quick too, because the last thing I want folks to see is that I've built this Discord server. Again, the invite link is in this video's description. I should probably hang on. I should probably make sure that there's not anything in here that people don't want folks to see. So let me go ahead and just kind of shorten this up a hair. Let me get rid of the people that are in it because they probably don't want their information shared. Let's open this up just a hair. Okay, so that's a Discord server I've built, right? So we have events in the top. We've had some events in the past. We have an announcements, which is for announcement having to do with the channel. The invite link to Discord is in this video's description. This is the absolute best way for us to organize actual action is Discord. I like Facebook and I love the group, but when it comes to organizing actual action, Discord is way, way better for that. It has an internal voice and video channel, which means that like if you're like me and you're running a podcast, you can actually stream right to Discord without having to be an admin on the Discord server. You can do things like have virtual events, right? Where people jump in and have, live audio and video conversations. You can do that in Discord. You can't really do that quite so easily within the band public benefits Facebook group, right? It's not exactly the easiest thing in the world to do. So that's the way that we're going to do this. We're going to, if you want to see action take place, the best way to do that is on Discord. And that's why I'm telling you, everybody, join the Discord server. Join it. That's the best way to make all of this happen. So let me go ahead and just print this out real quick because I like to deal with a print copy if I'm trying to take notes and copy off of something. So I'm thinking that you guys might be able to hear this. Let me also bring up Okay, let's just do this. Okay, so the other thing that you can, that while you're writing these bills, now we're here for Senate Bill 647, but while this is printing, let's just very briefly mention that when it comes to these bills, basically you can use this style guide to copy and paste some of this. I hope you will support the passage of, and then you can come to Mike's scorecard here, right? And you can see the scorecard. Doggone it. I have this too far zoomed in, so the mouse over here, we can zoom it out. Because this is, you're not going to be looking at this from that close. You're going to be looking at it from a bird's eye view, right? Come to a scorecard, pick one out you want to support. Senate Bill 84 does nearly everything GP laid out that will actually lower rates and get rid of public benefits charges. All right, let's do something different. Separates pure from deep. Finally gets rid of the obvious conflict of interest between the two bodies. So Senate Bill 647 does that too, but this one is just that. There's another one that labels nuclear as there's another one that, here we go, redefines nuclear and hydroelectric as a class renewable. This is something that I can't believe there wouldn't be support for in a bipartisan manner. So this is why I've got this one kind of rated fairly high in terms of passability. Not that high. I mean, it's 4 out of 10. So less likely than not to pass. So it's probably not going to pass without a lot of support, but it would. If the 5 other things are the things that Democrats don't want, then maybe they'd be willing to get on board with nuclear. So you pick out one that you want to support, right? And then we go back to our letter, right? We want to do this one. No, we want to do this one. Here we go. 5402. And then there's one that you want to oppose. You go back to the scorecard and you look up one you want to oppose, right? Maybe you don't care too much about passability. Maybe you just want to find the worst one here. House Bill 5921 or House Bill 6291, right? And I'm not going to go into too great details of how those work. So that's how all of that works. That's why I've put these resources together, because I want to see the change. I want to see it actually effectuated. So let me grab this piece of paper. So I got my piece of paper here. And then what we can do is, since we're going to go ahead and just start writing the letter, we can switch over to the side-by-side view. And I'm actually going to change microphones here so I don't have to be in front of the microphone while I'm writing, because it's not exactly easy to do that. So pardon me, folks. I think we're going to turn on that microphone, and we're going to turn this one off. Let me know if that's too quiet or too loud. I think I want it to be about here-ish. So unfortunately, it's kind of picking up the fan from the laptop because it's right next to it. All right, I want to come right about there-ish. Yeah, that's about where I want to be. All right. So again, folks, let me know if this is too quiet or too loud, or if the sound is just bad in general. Let's see. We shouldn't be peaking. Are we peaking? No, we're not peaking. In fact, we could probably stand to be just a little bit hotter. Let's come a little bit hotter right here, right about there. This is really hard to do. This is really hard to do in pre-production. It's really hard to get just right when you got 2 completely different microphones. One's a shotgun mic, and one is an SM58. So, yes, it's gonna get noisy because we're using a shotgun mic. I should really be using my wireless lavalier mics. Can we zoom out just a hair? Out to like there. All right, and then we'll switch to autofocus. There. All right. So now you should be able to see me fairly easily. All right. So I got my letter in front of me. I want to try. Get these envelopes out of the way for now. All right, so what I'm going to do, let's move this just a hair this way. All right, so I'm going to switch over to more of an informal chat session, so you guys can talk with me. So let me know if there's anything you disagree with. Let me see if I have. Or if you want, if there's anything you guys want to talk about, let me know. If you guys want to come in via Discord, I can bring you in, and we can do audio if you want. Link is in this video's description to my personal Discord server, so let me bring that up just to make sure that there's nobody in the Discord server. If you want to, come on in. Let's chat. A link is to my personal Discord server is in this video's description as well. I can put that in the chat if you guys want. Let me know if you guys want to see that in the chat. And yeah, I'll bring it. We'll bring your audio in. If you have video you want to share, we can talk about that. And come into the Discord server and let's chat while we're doing all this. So I would love to see you guys actually joining with me as we take the pen and start the writing process. Right at the top, don't need any headline. I wish I was left-handed for the first time in my life so you guys could see this better, but I'm not sure. I've never used this particular pad, so you know what we should do? We should come right to the beginning of the pad. So I have no idea how well this is going to work out, but I'm going to skip a line just to be sure. Dear representative. We don't want Steinberg. We're going to come to... No, we want that. We want this. Let's come to our list. Who's the next representative? Okay. All right, so it says District S33 for Norm Edelman. I'm assuming that means Senate. SO2 must mean Senate District. And let's go to Buckby because we know Buckby is 067. So that must mean that this is a reference to, if there's no S, it means representative. And if there's no, if there isn't S, it must mean senator. Yeah, because Ryan Fazio is a senator. So let's do Dear Representative Raghib. And again, we're focusing in here on Democrats. So let's do them first. Raghib, Representative Raghib. Yeah, that's what we want to do. My name is Michael Sennello, fellow Connecticut resident. If this gets boring, let me know. But I'm trying to show that it can be done. It's kind of time consuming, but it can be done. So if this gets boring, tough luck, folks. We're going to do it. We're going to hammer through this. If there's something else you guys want me to do, you can go ahead and tell me in the chat. But right now, this is what we're going to do. In fact, what we should probably be doing is... this. There. Bring up my document. In this case, it is Raghib. Because we're doing this. So, again, don't copy and paste me. Don't try to copy this word for word. This is just what I'm doing. Use your own words. In fact, if you can do this if you want to, you can do is instead of doing all of these bubbles, all of these bullet points, you can pick one of these bullet points you really like. For example, let's say you really, really like the redefining of nuclear to a class 1 renewable. You can focus on that and just say, listen, this bill includes this thing, this hill that I'm willing to die on, that I really, really want to see happen. And let me go ahead and, no, that's probably right. I am writing because of the current electric rates in Connecticut. man, that fan is so loud. How can I block that off? I guess there's really no avoiding that. All right, I had another way of wording this Senate. I had another way of wording this. There's another way of wording this. How do I do this? There we go. All right, we're going to do this. We're going to use this intro. As I'm sure you've heard, data gathered by Lending Tree and reported on by the Hartford Courant, their favorite publication. That's why we're using the Hartford Courant. It's been reported on in various locations. We're going with the one that they like. Indicate that Connecticut has the highest average electric bills in America, and the second highest electric rates in continental U.S. Let's go with the continental U.S. behind only California. I think we're going to leave. Okay, yeah, here we go. We are also significantly higher in our rates than fellow New England states like New Hampshire and Maine. All right, I think we're going to leave that statistical point out because this paragraph's a bit on the long side, and as you can see, this letter with that slightly longer intro paragraph is going to get us to our 350 word maximum real quick. So we're going to leave out that statistical point towards the end here. All right. I'm hoping you support the passage of proposed Senate Bill 647 as it will enact several key... Yeah, I don't think we have to say that it's been... that it's made it into a public hearing. I don't think we need to say that. But we can just say it support the passage. Just get to the point. Be concise. I am hoping you will support the passage of, and we finish the line before we go back to do our highlights. We finish the line, and then we go and underline the word. Passage of proposed Senate Bill 647 as it will enact, finish the line, underline our words, several key statutory changes that will lower costs to consumers and cause existing regulation to better comport with the principles of liberty and mutual consent. I probably would be writing a little bit more deliberately and a little bit more slowly because this handwriting, here, let's switch this over so you can see this better. Well, my handwriting isn't very good unless I spend like some serious time. So that's where I am right now. And yeah, okay, my handwriting it could be worse, I suppose, but it's not that great. I'm happy and willing to admit that it's not that great. So I think if I was doing this just on my own completely, I would probably be intentionally writing a lot more deliberately, like I said, and probably a lot more slowly. I need something to weigh this down. Let's do this old watch, maybe. There we go. That's enough. In brief, here, let's zoom this in so you guys can see it better. This is where we are. In brief, the bill will pull the widely unpopular public benefits charges off of rate payers' bills and force the items in those charges to be, all right, so we've come to the end of a page. We actually have another line here. We actually have an entire other line here that I haven't used on purpose. I don't know if you can see that, how well you can see that. But yeah, I've intentionally left a line blank. And that's just for ergonomics. And because eventually this letter is going to go into an envelope, and if there's any fraying that goes along in the delivery, it buys you that extra line. And plus, it's just a good habit to get into. You don't want to go right to the end. So let's flip that over. Again, I haven't actually used this notebook. I prefer actually these types of notebooks. And I left the label on this one. It's a True Red brand. I just picked this up at Staples today. It was like $7. And again, it's more of a notebook style writing. I feel it's more, how do I put this? There's just something more weighty to it, and to having the seam in the middle rather than the seam on the top. But I figured I'd try something new, so this is what I'm going to try. All right, so where were we? To be debated. Individually on the legislative floor where they belong, and where the legislature will have the opportunity to potentially reduce or eliminate those items that ought to be. All right. So another thing I want to point out here is that I'm getting to the end of a page really quickly. And the reason I'm getting to the end of a page really quickly is because these are kind of narrow pages. And what I was saying about getting, you know, paying a tiny bit extra for specialized stationery, I'm going to hold up a piece of paper to this. This is the printout that I'm working off of. You can see this is significantly wider, right? So this is significantly wider. But like I said, I want it to stand out. So if you're going to have a decision of whether or not to go wider or whether to go wider or narrower, the preferred ergonomic, the preferred aesthetic, if you will, is smaller, narrower, rather than wider. All right, so next bullet point. So you guys can follow along. Limit deep purchases of energy to those which are significantly more in line with market rates. Next bullet point. Okay, I think we have that one up. Redefine class 1. Redefine class 1 renewable to include nuclear, the safest, cleanest. Remember, they care about clean. They care about greenhouse gas emissions. So we got to bring this up. Most reliable, and long-term cheapest source of energy. Which will allow EDCs, electrical distribution companies, we can use this abbreviation because they know what it means. So that'd be Eversource and UI. And retailers to make their mandatory REX purchases mandated at 38% of all purchases via clean energy sources that are 8 times roughly 8 times cheaper than current market rates. They should be plurable. For class 1 renewables. So I've talked about this on the show too. When I say and retailers, so the way electricity is sold is not the way that you'd think it was sold. Eversource isn't just taking what, let's say, Millstone makes and taking electricity direct from their generators onto their power lines and brought to your home. That's not how it works. What happens is there's an auction process, and the EDCs, in the case of Eversource and UI, go out into these auction processes, and they seek out bundles of energy credits that have been purchased from people and companies that do nothing but this. What they do is these companies, these third parties, will go to Texas and say to a power plant in Texas, we want to buy a certain percentage of your load. We want to buy a certain number of megawatts from you. And they come to an agreement with the rate. And then as a result, they're able to package these little tiny pockets of electricity from all over the country for certain energy credits. As far as the renewable energy credits, they're not allowed to do that. They have to stay within the ISO New England contract, which means effectively buying only renewable credits from Connecticut, which are the most expensive way to buy them in Connecticut. You can buy them in other states for way, way cheaper. But when it comes to generic energy credits, the other 62% of their portfolio, they're buying it from wherever they can get it cheapest. And then they're passing that on as a much larger bundle, a much larger portfolio to the energy distribution companies. Picture this as like the energy distribution company is Edward Jones, your local Edward Jones office. And the Edward Jones office is presenting you with various mutual funds that you can invest into. The mutual fund holders are the retailers. And the retailers go out and seek, in the case of mutual fund holders, private stocks, individual private stocks, which are really, really hard to follow and really, really hard to capture, in inopportune moments. So that's how energy is actually purchased in the state of Connecticut. It's almost essentially gone. The days of, one power company owns the plant and the lines, and you just bring it directly from the plant to your home via those lines are long gone. There may be a handful of very small, very, very few cases where that still is the case. Kimberly-Clark in New Milford actually comes to mind, where they have a natural gas generation plant that they own that's on site and only for their plant. And that's because they have a giant factory that eats up a ton of electricity. So that's what it means by energy retailers. Okay, next bullet point. All right, so when we do this in Microsoft Word, or when you type this out, you don't really need to give spaces on your bullet points, but as you can kind of see, I got spaces in between my bullet points. Again, it just makes for a more ergonomic read. Separate Pura from DEEP, the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, which will dissolve the conflict of interest that Pura must serve in answering to a department whose mission by definition is in direct conflict let's bring this back up. With Pura's command to act on behalf of ratepayers for electrical rates. Next bullet point. We don't need to get into a lengthy economics conversation. We probably do, actually, but in this letter, it's not useful to get into that lengthy economics conversation. We can just say what it does. Repeals programs that artificially inflate demand and thus prices and we forgot to put that in there and will study ways to naturally expand the supply of of natural gas whose recent innovations allow new plants to emit near zero CO2 at a cost orders of magnitude less than those allowed by the mandates of 22A-200A. All right, period. Get to our salutation. Thank you so much for your consideration. You so much for your consideration. And let's make this simpler. I look forward to. I look forward to the opportunity to provide oh crap, I typed this wrong. Here's how we're going to do this. Forward to providing testimony at further public hearings of the Energy and Technology Committee. The way I have it worded here on screen is better, but I made a mistake. And what's nice about when you have the smaller pieces, what's nice about, I told you two things. One, go small rather than big if you're going to not use the standard size. Is that if I have to throw away this page, this really isn't a whole lot of words. If I have to just scrap this whole thing and start over, by the way, don't cross off whole lines. Cross off a letter, cross off a word. Don't cross off a whole line. If I have to, I could just easily flip to the next page and start over. It's really not that bad. It's really not that big a deal to start over on this page, right? If I'm using a much larger page, then I have to start over on a much larger page, which means more words that I have to start over with. Additionally, because I'm only doing this single-sided, right? I'm not doing this double-sided. The same effect takes place, right? I'm only on one side. If I have to throw away a page, it's not like I'm losing that much. The other thing to take, I put in this. I don't remember if I put this actually. I should have put this in here. However, one thing to really seriously work on is to make sure you have space for your salutation. So our letter is done. We have space for the salutation. If you think that you're going to be close, right? If you burn this page, if you get to the bottom of the page and you're out of space, throw away the page, start over, and redo the page, and maybe even consider retyping it, these letters, throwing away one letter isn't going to hurt that much. But you really need to leave room. If that means that you've got to significantly shorten up the amount of space you're occupying on each page, do it. Have to leave room for the salutation. That's what we're going to do. All right. Best regards. Skip 3 lines, Michael Sennello. And then my chicken scratch signature. There. That's the whole thing. Now, the only thing we got left is to number the pages. So what we're going to do is we're just going to rip out our pages. Nice to have the perforations, to be honest. I have a tool that allows me to make my own perforations, but it's just way easier to have these perforations built in. Yeah, so I told you, when you do your page numbers, tear the pages out first. You're going to see why in just a second. So I guess I can fold this over the binding along the line of the perforation. Let's see if I can do it on one fold. Actually, that is a pretty good perforation. There we go. Okay, so now we have 3 pages. The reason we're doing this after we make the tear is because if you don't leave that much room, then you may accidentally tear up the page and tear away the space around where you're numbering your pages. So I like to number in the top right just because it's easier for my hand. If you're typing your pages, leave the page number at the bottom right. If you're handwriting, you want it in the top right. So page 1 of 3. Page 1 of 3. Or, sorry, this is page 2 of 3. That's incorrect. Page 2 of 3. Page 3 of 3. There we go. All right, now we're going to go get our envelope. Who are we writing to? We're writing to a Democrat. So we want to go pink or blue, right? All right, we are writing to Allie Brennan. Oh, that's his last name. Okay. I guess I did that wrong. That's all right. We can fix this. This is actually really easy to fix. Okay. Raghib Ali Brennan. We can just use the whole name because we accidentally used the first name. That's all right. All right. So, Raghib. I have a feeling it's a dude. When in doubt, it's a dude. The legislature is primarily dudes. So, he gets a blue one. Democrat. It's a nice Democrat blue one. Okay. So you don't actually need to write the representative or senator's full first name and last name when you're writing the letter. Just write the last name. But when you make the mistake and write the first name, you can fix that by writing the last name. And you see how, like I said, we've got a few little screw-ups here. Not many. It's a handwritten letter. There's going to be mistakes. I'm redoing this entire page. So this is, we're going to write this to, this is representative. So Representative Raghib Ali Brennan. Okay, so where we're going to send this to. Remember that address we pulled up. This is why I have this document. I write these things down so I don't have to memorize some of these things. There we go. This is where we're going. Okay, so it says Connecticut State Legislative Office Building. I write CT for Connecticut just because it takes up the word Connecticut takes up so much space. CT Legislative Office Building. .300 Capitol Ave, Avenue, Hartford, CT 06106. Okay. From Michael Sennello. All right. Let's make some minor adjustments to the actual letter I wrote. All right. So we're not going to use lower 48. We're going to use in the continental U.S. So this is, as I'm sure you've heard, data gathered by lending tree and reported on by the Hartford Courant indicate Connecticut has the highest average electric bills in America and the second highest electric rates in the continental U.S. behind only California. We are also significantly higher in our rates than fellow New England states like New Hampshire and Maine. We can leave it at that. Support the passage of Senate Bill 647 as it will enact several key statutory changes that will lower our costs to consumers and cause existing regulation to better comport with the principles of liberty and mutual consent, and brief the bill will. And I think we made the changes we needed to make to the actual to the body of the letter. And we are still in one page. All right. We can use our tools. Word count. 346. 346. We're still just barely under our 350 word threshold. Okay. So where we need to be, we can print this out and get a new, here, let's pick a new senator or representative. Let's see, Jorge Cabrera, senator. All right. Dear Senator, Cabrera. Did I have that spelled correctly? 1 R. All right. Bam. And let's title this just in case I lose it. Senate Bill 647 support. There. If you guys want, what I can do is I can convert this to PDF. Like, why are you handwriting? Oh, so we went over that earlier. Let me come back. Let me get rid of this. All right. Here. Do the main. All right. Let's get rid of that microphone. Okay. All right. We need to be about there-ish. Yeah. Okay. So then let's come back over to here where that needs to be. Right about there-ish. Okay. So 56 plus 1. Like, why are you handwriting? So we talked about this. This is part of the style guide that I released. And I'm going to open that up. So if you're following along, here, let's get rid of that. So we don't need that. So I wrote this in the style guide. And I'll just go over this real quick. This is a style guide that I have released. Link is in this video's description. 56 and 1 if you're following, still watching. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sticking through all this. But I want to just reiterate that I released this style guide. And this is something that I've gotten feedback on from our state senators, our state representatives. I've written to representatives in D.C., and they've written back to me. I'm personal friends with Representative Buckby. We've had Senator Harding on the show several times. We've had Representative Callahan on the show a few times. Buckby did finally come on the show last fall, and they've all said basically the same thing, that everything I've said in this style guide is 100% correct. And the reason that I'm handwriting is because, and we can bring this to the style, right? This is the style guide part of this general advice. It's only 4 pages, right? So we've got the general advice, which we went over, right? And then we have the style guide for specifically writing these letters, and then the content, as in what you want to have in the letter. So not just in terms of style. And then on the final page, we have our sample letters. So I've written sample letters to Senator Norm Needleman and Representative John Steinberg. These are letters I actually wrote. All right. So the reason we're writing handwritten letters is right here in this style guide. Handwritten letters carry more weight. Yes, they take more time. And that's the point. That's the point. These handwritten letters, these handwritten letters, when you see the ink and paper, when you see that somebody took the time to put physical pen to paper, there's something more to it. Additionally, there's something quintessentially human about your physical hand going from to the physical pen and then to the paper that is lost in the digital format. I also explained, too, that the reason you want to write letters, let me get rid of that. Okay. All right, so the reason that we're writing letters rather than emailing, I'll be right about there, is because these people most of these guys don't look at their emails. They get bombarded with emails. Emails are way too easy to send, and there's just something robotic about an email. And, I'm sure they're bombarded with spam. However, when they come to sit down on their desk, in the legislative office building, there's really no denying just a stack of letters just sitting on your front of your desk. There's really no way to say this is spam because bots haven't really gotten to that level yet when it comes to these local, state representative and state senate offices. It's just not happening. Somebody really took the time to write to their state senator, to their state rep. And again, the handwritten version of this just carries so much more weight. It sits with them much more. It resonates better. We can come up to the style, bring up the style guide real quick. Handwritten letters carry more weight. If you can handwrite a letter, it will land a lot better with your recipient. It takes a degree more effort, which shows recipients the sincerity with which you value your message. There is also a more human element, as the ink flows from the proverbial pen in your hand rather than from a printer at the direction of a computer. So this is why we're doing it by hand. The reason we're doing it on stream is to show you that it can be done. This really wasn't totally insane. Yeah, it took me an hour because I'm going through every single step along the way, right? Because I'm doing this on my show rather than pumping them out behind the scenes. I'm showing you that it can be done. And since it can be done, it should be done. Now, the other half of this is that I've said in this style guide, point number 2, type your letters before you write them. It is much easier and faster making corrections on the computer than by hand. It will also lead to far fewer cross-offs, whiteouts, etc., creating a more clean letter, which creates a more ergonomic read and displays an air of genuine familiarity with the subject. Because you want them to know that you're being familiar with the subject. You're not just giving a passing glance to the subject itself and then flying off the handle with this letter. So the other thing that I mentioned while I was going over that is that if you have the typed version, right? If you have the typed letter ready to go, then when your hands get sore and you run out of time and you've gotten through the first, 4 or 5 or 6 or 3 or 2, however many you have the time and energy to do, you can just print these out, change the name in the dear line, change the name in the address line, right? Dear Senator Cabrera, like what we just did. You can print those out, and then at least some of these will be handwritten. The other thing I pointed out, if you guys are going to be doing this, like I said, this is really, really, really important. These need to be unique. So when I go to the end of this document here, I've shown you 2 sample letters, right? They're both in PDF format. And the reason that's the case is because they need to be unique. They're not going to land if they're not unique. I have uploaded 2 PDF versions of letters I have written, one to State Senator Norm Needleman and one to Representative Jonathan Steinberg. Do not try to copy and paste these letters. I am simply trying to show how this works in action and by example. I have purposely uploaded these as PDF files so you can print them out if you'd like, but so you cannot simply copy and paste my words. This is not because I care about you using my words. It's because these letters need to be unique, or else you come off as part of an insincere announcer turf campaign, rather than these letters come off as being from the AstroTurf campaign, rather than as from you and from the heart. So what that means is that these letters need to be from person to person unique. That means that if you guys are going to be writing letters, they need to be unique to you. They can be the same letter that you are sending out to each of these representatives, but they can't be my letter. They have to be something different. They'll see right through that. And again, it's just going to leave a sour taste in their mouth and poison the bill we're trying to support here, Senate Bill 647. So that's why we're doing everything what we did. Okay, I agree that it can be done. However, I can't say that I agree. I personally write my congressman all of the time. I can say that I have ever been ignored. I'm assuming you mean never been ignored? Yeah, no, I'm not saying that one is, useless. I'm saying that the handwritten version is preferred, that it carries more weight. Also, the thing we're trying to do is convince somebody who disagrees with us. So we need everything on our side we can. Billy Mo Buckby's on our side. I've written to him a few times too. I wrote to him out of courtesy first on this subject because he's a personal friend of mine. But we're not doing anything to write to him. We're not convincing him of anything. And that's what we need to be doing at this stage, is convincing, in this case, Democrats, to get on board with Senate Bill 647 in committee. When it comes time to write to the ones that agree with us already, that we know agree with us already, we can do that. But that's not really what we're focusing on right now. This is why we're also focusing on the committee itself, right? Where are we? We're at this one. We're focusing on the committee members themselves. We're not writing to every single member of the legislature. It is in committee right now, and that's what matters. These are the people that are going to be making 99% of the decisions of whether or not to get behind this bill. Is in committee. You know what? You know what else? Oh, here we go. There, we're in committee. So I don't know if hopefully I didn't screw this up and leave out the style guide, right? So this is in my style guide. What we should do, just very briefly, I'll look up on my YouTube channel. I don't know if you guys are watching on YouTube or not, but on my YouTube channel, let me come out to my channel, to your channel, very quickly. I'm going to do, it's Harding Committee. Bam. Okay, we got two versions here. Okay, so we've got two videos that are part of my interviews with Senator Steve Harding. One is the long version, one is the short version. I'll show you guys the short version right now. Links generally how the House... Oh, hold on. We got to do this. Here we go.
The Senate work is almost nothing gets brought out to the floor of the chamber unless they know it's going to pass.
Okay.
So usually it's not like this bill, this person wants to vote on it, they throw it up and it doesn't pass. If a bill comes out, I think I've only seen one time where a bill has actually come out and actually failed on the House floor or the Senate floor.
Interesting.
So it does. So the leadership in the House and the Senate do not bring a bill out unless they know they have the votes for the bill.
All right, let's do it again because I think I had the audio was crappy on that.
Generally, how the House and the Senate work is almost nothing gets brought out to the floor of the chamber unless they know it's going to pass.
Okay.
So usually it's not like this bill, this person wants to vote on it, they throw it up and it doesn't pass. If a bill comes out, I think I've only seen one time where a bill has actually come out and actually failed on the House floor or the Senate floor.
Interesting.
So it does. So the leadership in the House and the Senate do not bring a bill out unless they know they have the votes for the bill.
Yeah. So that's why we're focusing on the committee. This is why we're doing things the way we're doing it. Now, there's the 7-minute version of this. Let me kill the desktop audio just in case. We did have a much longer. That was cut up from a much longer conversation we had on the role of the committee. Never. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I kind of thought that was just a typo. I get some of your point in that. Yes, it's always great to use an impression that stands apart. But let me ask you this: Have any of them written you in return using handwritten format? Most of the people that I've written to know me well enough to either call me on my cell phone number or to reach out to me personally in person. I don't mean to be the guy that's like, I've got the weight and I've got the clout to know these people well enough to get a phone call from them because I have their personal cell phone numbers. But that's been my experience. So, no. But the other thing too is we're not looking to get them to respond to us by written letter. We're not looking for them to write to us. We're looking for them to pass the bill. I really don't care if I don't get anything response directly from them except for their vote on the floor. That's what I want. I want them to vote in favor of the thing. I don't care what they have to say in response to me. Right? So I get what you're saying. Maybe I'm out of touch because I know enough of these people personally to not get that type of response. I get a much more direct response, but I don't think that's the goal here. The goal isn't to get them to write back to us. The goal is to get them to pass the bill. And that's what we're trying to do. That's why the style guide is what it is. That's why the recommendations I've made are the recommendations I've made. Right? Like, people are going to disagree with us. A lot of these people are when we get, no matter what we do, are going to be just obstinate and not even nice about it. But it does us no good to stoop to their level. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. The goal is to get the bill passed. And I think with that, we're going to be able to go ahead and fold this letter in half. Get in the envelope. And no, I have not put my full return address on there. I'm going to, so I don't get in trouble with the mail or with the post office. But you guys don't need to know my home address. I mean, I'm sure you guys can figure it out because I've spoken enough at town council, and you're required to give your home address at town council. But so I'm sure I can be easily doxxed. I'm sure I've basically doxxed myself before, but I'm not going to go out of my way to do that. So let me get that link. Here it goes. It can be done. It can be done. And it needs to be done. And again, if you don't have time to write it by hand, yes, go ahead. Just write it. Just type it out, print it out, sign it, send it. Still better than nothing. That's still better than nothing. I'm just trying to show how to do it and how it can be done. Can I call into you live? Yes. So we can carry a dialogue? Absolutely. The invite link to the Discord server is in this video's description, both in the Facebook and the YouTube link. Here, let me. Go ahead and pull this up real quick. Here, let me give you the link to my personal server. Copy. We need this. Bam. All right, I just put the invite link to the Discord server. Why is it being so bogged down right now? There. All right. I'm going to kill Microsoft Word too, because I don't need this anymore. I got a lot of these. Let's get rid of all these. Yeah, so 56 plus 1, if you just give me a second, I'm going to get into my Discord server here. Just hop in the Discord server, and I'll pull you into the talk, and we can talk. And you can share as much as you want, either audio, video, however you want to do it. Let me kill some other things here so we don't have quite so much running in the background. For some reason, the video here is bogging down. I'm not sure why. Seems like it's doing okay there. Ah. So a Discord server is... Oh, I got to crop this so I don't reveal too much information for people that might not want to see that. Come on. That is a Discord server. That is my personal Discord server. And what it allows you to do is have something like a Facebook group in that you can chat in it. And you can have posts and you can have announcements and you can tag people and tag a group. You can actually do a lot more just as from the perspective of what a group can do. You can have voice chats in private. You can have voice chats on a server. You can have video chats. You can share screen. You can watch. You can do a live watch along and have a video that we're all sharing and watching together. There's a lot more you can do with Discord than you can do with pretty much any other service. And it costs nothing. So all you have to do is just have a Discord server account and then a Discord account, which you can do through browser. I'm using in browser. I'm not using an app. I'm not using any downloadable software or anything like that. And it's actually quite convenient and easy to use. And it doesn't do like Zoom where it completely bogs down all of your CPU and it bogs down your video card and your GPU. It doesn't bog any things down like Zoom does. It also doesn't completely hog your entire audio control setup like Zoom does. So I could do a Zoom link too. The other thing that Zoom has is a serious problem with security because I can share a Discord server invite link and there's effectively no way for bots to farm that link and do a raid on a Discord server. There's effectively no way to do that. Whereas with Zoom, if I share a Zoom meeting link, I have to share it behind a tiny URL link. So there's no way to publicly share a Zoom link. So yeah, when I have senators call in, we and representatives call in, it's either through Discord or Zoom. But again, those are closed conversations as opposed to me sharing, a public link, sharing a link publicly to a Zoom meeting. The only way to get around that really is like Zoom does have an extension called Webinar, which I used to have, and it's really expensive. That allows you to basically hand pick who has what roles, and the default role is basically pissant. So it's great for when you have something like a virtual town council meeting, and you don't want people talking over the meeting, and you don't want to have somebody that constantly there, basically swatting flies, if you will. Turning off screens, turning off video, turning off audio. Sorry. So can you call me? Reason I ask is we do a podcast, but we dial into or call out of it. Yeah. So as far as using a telephone and just typing in a telephone number, like on your phone to Discord, there's no great way of doing that right now. You can do it from your phone, but it's not like there's a phone number. And right now I don't have a landline in this office. Well, it's not set up anyways. There is one, but it's not set up, and I don't have a virtual landline converter either, which is what I would need to do to have that conversation back and forth and still be able to broadcast that conversation. So no, I don't have that. It's just too much for what I do. What I have done in the very rare past is with people who already have my phone number, I can get a microphone and just put you on speaker and it comes in all right. It's not as good and rich as my sound is right now. But it comes in just fine. So we could maybe do something like that if we get a chance to chat behind the scenes. But it is kind of late. And I really want to be able to just start pumping these out behind the scenes. So I think that was sufficient. Thanks so much everyone for tuning in. Let me see if there's anything else on the YouTube chat. No. All right. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Remember, I do this for free and for you guys. So, I'm not doing this for any reason other than basically your benefit. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks so much, everyone, for doing this. We're going to be doing this again later in the week. I'm going to give everyone much better notice. And I'm going to hopefully be able to have time to chop up this video into something much shorter that I can release to give people an advice as to how to go about doing all of this and why that I'm giving the advice that I have to offer. And yeah, I mean, 56 plus one. Let's talk sometime behind the scenes. See if there's, see if there's a good way to bring you on to bring you guys onto my show. And if you guys want me to call in, happy to call in. Tuesday is really the day to do that sort of thing because there's a public hearing on Tuesday morning. I'm not sure if I'm going to have time to do a show myself on Tuesday, but that's what we're looking to do. Additionally, we're going to be doing something moving forward. We're going to be doing something in person. We're going to move beyond the virtual realm, and we're going to try to get people together in a room and get all of this and get some letter writing done, get some Q&A out there, and get something kind of a meet and greet in terms of real people. I know enough people that I'm going to try to be at some point getting representatives to come to these Q&As. We eventually down the road, I'd like to bring in some Democrat representatives and senators to engage in debate, and we'll see how that goes. But we're not at that point yet. So anyways, stay tuned. More to come. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Night, everybody.